I'm your host, Lo, and this is Mic Drop Sun Drip, the show where we drop truth and speak light into you. This is the show for those ready to awaken to their full power, live from love, bask in golden divine light, embody abundance and divine wealth. Drop into your heart and feel it all in your body. You can watch on YouTube or listen on all podcast platforms. Here we go. Oh, and one more thing. You have a spark of the divine in you. Act accordingly. Welcome to Mic Drop Sun Drip. This is going to be an epic episode because we got my girl. I just want to first say that I'm so grateful for all of the incredible feedback that I've received from the show so far. There's just been so many wonderful comments and insights from the community, and I am just so moved. So thank you to everybody for your support. I am particularly excited to have one of my absolute dearest friends on the show today, a speaker of truth, an embodiment of truth, fully in her power, and she emanates out just so much divine love and healing for her community and for me as well. So I want to welcome Gabriella Alziari, who is the founder of Alziari Coaching and who is an intuitive channel and life coach. She is an incredibly powerful oracle, and she channels so many beautiful, benevolent beings, but she also is embodying her higher self, which is something we talk a lot about, that's really what we're doing here. So, welcome, Gabby. How are you today, my love?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing well. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so excited to connect with your beautiful community. I can feel their energy already.
Ooh, thank you, babe, for being here. It truly means the world to me. And you've always been there for me. Like you always show up. One of the things I have to say publicly that I love about you, amongst many, is that you show up. You have such a commitment to the people in your life that you love, to your clients, of course. But whenever we have something on the calendar, like Gabby's coming, Gabby doesn't flake. Gabby is coming. Gabby shows up every time. And Gabby knows I've had to call her for some emergency situations, including energy healing sessions. And you just always show up for everyone. And we love you for that. And I love you for that. So thank you.
Thank you. It is truly my honor. And I think that's, as a society, what we're moving into is like true divine love, like really
Yes.
being there for one another as a
Yeah.
community, getting out of the individualistic paradigm.
Yeah. We're going to talk a lot about that today. Age of Aquarius is making everybody get less selfish, which
Oh, yeah.
I'm personally loving. And yeah, I just love you. So thank you. Why don't you kick us off with a little background, whatever you feel called to share with the community. Would love to hear, how you got into this work. And we're going to get into your spiritual awakening in a little bit, but would love to hear just like, how did this all begin for you?
Yeah. From the moment I stepped foot on Earth, I always joke with people. I felt like I was connected to the other side, to the higher planes.
Yeah.
And at around 10 years old, I started studying past life regression and near-death experiences. And that's how I really got connected to spirituality in the first place. And it all deeply resonated, and that turned into 20 years of just reading and studying and taking
Mm,
Reiki and learning energy healing. But in 2020, when COVID hit, is when I studied the tarot and I started doing readings daily for about 2 years. And about a
mm.
year into that is when I started channeling.
Uh-huh. So
So a lot of
powerful.
images came through from spirit, and I knew that I was downloading a new ability. And now I get to
Mhm.
do it every day, all the time, working with spirit constantly.
Yeah. Oh, it's so powerful. I've been saying a lot lately because right now I'm spending time with my family in my hometown where I grew up, and I I'm walking through these neighborhoods and areas I walked through as a child, middle school, high school, elementary school, right? And I was the same person then, and the masks we put on in childhood and when we go through the school and the programming are real. But for those of us, I mean, star seeds, if you know, you always felt out of place and you always knew you were an ancient soul. And we always knew that we were different and we were here to be different, I want to ask you, what was your childhood like? Like, what was your, whatever you feel called to share, like, what were you like as a child? And how do you relate to that time in your life to what you do now?
I was always a very creative child. I loved
Yeah.
art. I loved animals. I always felt that there was something greater in life. And, I liked English class because it was very creative and it allowed me to express myself in that way. But a lot of the other things I was learning and the format I was learning in really didn't resonate.
Yeah.
My parents would take me to church and I would sit there and I was like, I believe in God. I believe in a higher power, but this way that it's being taught to me is not resonating. And so there was always this inner grappling. And, from a young age, I would just look at my dad particularly, and I was like, I have to emulate him. Like, I need to
Yeah.
go into the corporate world. I need to be successful that way. And that's what I did for much of my life until one day I realized that it wasn't feeding my soul and I just couldn't do it anymore. I literally gave out and I quit.
It's so powerful. When you look back at the time you quit, were you stepping into a lot of unknown or did you have a full plan of what you were going to do?
Now, I had been taking clients, doing readings for about 2 years, but very much part-time. And the frequency with which I was doing that was rising
Yeah.
every single day because it just felt like my truth. But I had to conquer so much fear at that time, and I truly had no idea what I was walking into.
Yeah.
I felt that I was going to walk into a lot of uncertainty, but there was just this deep desire within me, and I forced myself to do it.
It's so powerful. People want to know how you just take risks and leap. You just do. Like, none of us have it figured out. Even if you set yourself up as best you can, you really don't. No one knows what's going to happen. And I just commend you for doing that and look at your purpose and how it's flourished. Um, I I want to go next to like when you have like as you awaken spiritually, and I would be curious whatever you feel called to share in terms of how your awakening was triggered or activated. But when you were in that period of first like awakening and remembering you're a soul in a body and starting to have your gifts fully online, what was life like for you? What was going on at the time? Did it happen in corporate? Did it happen when you were younger and then kind of like happen again? How did your awakening happen? Because I'm so fascinated because it happens so different for everybody.
Yeah, mine was super different than a lot of psychics and intuitives that you hear about, where they grew up knowing that they could fully communicate and everything was an experience for them. For
Yeah.
me, it was a little in and out. And I think it was because I kept trying to emulate my family. So, in a way, I was almost
Mm,
shutting off my gifts.
yeah.
I knew that there was something there, but I would feel it like 50% of the time. And then the other 50%, I almost felt like I had to go into this different mode. So it kind of shut off. And to be honest, that's something I still experience today. Like when I'm going out grocery shopping, I am just a normal average human. I'm not hearing messages for everyone and everything. But how it really came through for me was first seeing these images in my mind's eye as I was doing readings. And I was noticing in my readings, I was going into this trance state, you can call it, where I wasn't fully planning everything I was going to say. And that was a different experience for me because normally I would. I'm the type of person where I think a thought and then I speak it. I don't just have an open filter. And
Yeah.
for some reason, it felt like something else was speaking through me, and I got really excited. I also noticed that I had this pure energy of joy, and
Yeah.
other things started happening. Like I started feeling a little bit faint and sometimes a little bit dizzy when I was doing these messages. And sometimes after, I'd feel like this huge amount of energy had just washed through me, like a waterfall. And I had to rest a little bit more during that time. But I was working in corporate, and at that time, I was actually working 14-hour days. and I
Oh
was
my gosh.
really hustling. It was
Oh
extremely
yeah.
intense. I was working a lot for not even that much money looking back, and felt a lot of pressure. Like I was with a partner who was physically ill, and so I was paying all of our rent, I was paying for everything, and so I just felt like a lot of pressure during that time.
Yeah.
And so I look back and I am really proud of myself for taking the leap that I did because there was a part of me that it felt very impossible. But
Yeah.
like you said, after making the decision, it's almost like entering a new reality. Like literally everything changed for me
Totally.
overnight. And
Totally.
that's sometimes just what you have to do.
Mic drop, baby. I was waiting for the first mic drop.
Yeah.
Literally, that's it. And
Mhm.
I want to ask you about something that's kind of a topic I feel like a lot of us talk about hush 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 behind closed doors with our friends. But like,
Mhm.
as you were changing, how were the people around you reacting? Whether it was family, friends, your partner, like, did a lot of people fall out of your life? Did you struggle between these two different identities? Did you hold on to like the old Gabby and not want to like what was that process? Because I feel like when I met you, which was only a few years ago, you felt so embodied. And now I feel like you're very embodied in who you are. And you're just in sort of like a, this is who I am, no fucks. But talk to me about that. Like, did you struggle in between those, like in those transitions, basically, as you were stepping into so much power?
Yeah, the main way I struggled was with work because I had this YouTube channel that I was growing and building and it was getting really popular and it was climbing
Yes.
every single day. But I felt a lot of shame and fear and
Mm,
judgment around that because I thought that if my corporate job found that YouTube channel, they wouldn't see me as credible. And I was a leadership coach at my company. So I was coaching all of these executives and founders of startups and people that took themselves really seriously
yeah.
and wanted to get things done like really fast. And so it was literally like living in two different realities. Like during the week, I would put my all into working. I was in hustle mode. I was very in masculine energy. And then on the weekend, I went more into my yin and feminine energy. And that's when I would make my videos and channel. And so I honestly describe it as I think that those two sides of me just switched when I left the corporate world. Like I became more of the feminine essence in my day to day and
Yeah.
then with a little bit of that masculine. But yes, I vividly remember my CEO at the time finding my YouTube channel and asking me two things. One was, can you please be cognizant about what you're posting? Because if some of our clients see that you're posting spiritual things, they might not take us seriously. So that was one thing. And that was hard for me to swallow. And
Woo!
then the second thing was, hey, you're having a lot of success with your YouTube channel. So can you build our YouTube channel for us? And it was very interesting because it was a little bit of like a mixed message. And of course,
Interesting.
it provoked a lot of like inner child stuff in me. And I
Oh yeah.
really sat down and thought about like, how am I supposed to take this? But to be honest, it felt like my truth. And I just knew that I had to continue with it.
My favorite thing is spirituality is not serious. There's
Right.
nothing more serious than knowing y'all are a soul in a damn body. Okay. So,
Yeah.
whatever corporate world you're living in and whatever spreadsheets you look at and whatever your profits are, just know you take none of this with you. That triggers me. Woo, that triggers me. I mean, they're not going to take it so seriously. Oh, really? Oh, really? Because you're not a spirit in a temporary body? What do you think this all is? It's a little game here. So, there's this dynamic on Earth, as you know. I'm very frustrated with Earth and the humanity. I'm very
Hmm.
frustrated with these ways of being, especially in America, but globally. I know you've been around the world, you've lived all over and
Hmm.
traveled, your family, and we're
Yeah.
going to get into that. But I'm just astounded because you and I have both. We live in the corporate world, I have to dance in there and I have
Yeah.
different roles I do. I'm working full time for somebody right now doing some work. And
Hmm.
they know what we're doing. This is all public. And
Yeah,
this is
totally.
my mission, right? And I feel like that's what I want to ask you. Talk to people about how you really choose your mission against all odds.
Mm. Well, your mission feels different than just doing something for the sake of it or just doing something for money. Your
Hmm.
mission is a feeling that exists within you. And how I experience it personally is it's a feeling of lightness and truth.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always mean that it's easy. In fact, pursuing your mission can feel hard because you're almost working against the average grain in our world. But there's like a deep compulsion within you. And when you do it, it feels right
So true.
and it feels like the true you. And I always encourage people, it starts with the feeling.
Yeah.
It's less something that can be planned. And that's where I think getting out of some of the things that we're taught is really important because I could never have planned this. Never in my wildest imagination
No
as
way.
a child would I have been able to think, oh, one day I'm going to be a channeler and I'm going to
Right.
talk to spirit and I'm going to leave the corporate world. I
Right.
had a gut feeling that I would do some type of spiritual work eventually, some way,
Yeah.
somehow. But really, it was the feeling that led me to it. And I think this is also a similar experience that people have when they meet what we call their soul family. It's a
Oh yeah.
feeling.
Oh
It's
yeah.
not so much about who they are, what they do, how much
Right.
money they make. It's getting out of all of that and into more of the new paradigm.
You know it, baby. That was beautifully said, and it's very true. And something really struck me when you said your mission, you just know it's right and it feels right. And I have found that my mission just keeps stalking me, all the facets of it,
Mhm.
because there's personal facets, there's relationship facets, there's more like public role facet, right? There's our own personal journey, which continues no matter how well known we get or how much we're considered a thought leader in the world or in the culture. Like our personal journey, there's new levels, right? Like when we become a mother, it's going to be a whole new level. As we get older, it'll be a new level. As people in our life die around us, it'll be a new level. So I'm always humbling myself, but there are things on my path that stalk me, even to this day. Things that I try to let go of, or like I've run from this for God knows how my
Yeah,
whole life. I mean,
right.
every single person, including you, Lo, alls I see clairvoyantly for you is you're on stage. What? Oh, yeah, I'm too big for this world. I just gotta hide and do other shit. No, Lo, you're supposed to be a damn speaker. What? I mean,
Yeah.
guys, I'm trying to be transparent because I'm not sitting here going, I figured it all out. The fuck, no way. And let's talk about the twin flame journey because that's coming up and they're spinning around wanting you and I to talk about it. So here's what I want to say publicly about my twin. I would not be the person I am without that man. Just wouldn't be.
Mm.
I want to say it to him. He knows who he is. He knows he's my twin. And I would not be here without you if you're watching this. And, I think that ultimately what you and I have experienced in our dynamic is mirroring, right? And like you and
Yeah.
I have this beautiful connection, Gabby, from eons ago. I mean, we've tuned into our connection. We've been in many lives together. And in this life, we're just meant to be such allies and champions for each other. And I feel like because we are twin flames, we can get down with the mirroring, good or bad. We say good or bad, but like there's
Yeah.
some challenging mirrors we can have in friendship and in romantic,
Hmm.
obviously, and even work, right? Career, collaborations,
Yeah. Hmm.
co-creation, which we're going to talk about later because I know you channel a lot about co-creation as a key code for the new earth. So do I. But I feel like
Yeah.
humanity doesn't understand co-creation. Everyone's still very individualistic to your point. But with the
Hmm.
twin journey, I want to talk about this a little bit because it's very important. And of course, it continues to knock on my door. So, I think that there's a lot of people that are listening that resonate with this or will find this. And so, we got to do it justice. One of the things that's been coming up for me that I've been shown and channeling about is people are people that are on the genuine twins are really being deeply triggered. Like they're in their ego more than ever. There's so many
Yeah.
narratives, there's so much distortion. I feel like
Yeah.
and if I see one more, post on these twin flame academies and I'm just like, guys,
Yeah.
like it's a very individual journey. And while you can have your tribe, I would even argue other twin flames cannot fully understand your journey with your unique
Hmm.
counterpart. So that's
Hmm.
something that's been coming up for me. I'm really curious your thoughts on that and also just the state of twin flames right now and the state of the twin flame journey that you see, especially because you do sessions, you tune into this a lot. You are one. What are your thoughts on twins right now as 2025 has, commenced?
I think twins are being very challenged right now and very triggered. I completely agree with you. I'm seeing it now more than ever. I think it took people a while to recognize that they are twins. if they are
Big
one,
time.
and
Big
to
time.
first identify, oh, that's what's happening, and that's the truth of the matter. And
Yep.
then once they realize that, I think that it's a whole new initiation because it is this constant asking of going back to your true self, your true essence, your true soul. And the outside world is really challenging that right now in
Oh
every
yeah.
single way
Yep.
with everything that we look at. And so I think that spirit is actually forcing twins through these challenges to completely degrade the ego. And I can't say completely enough because the truth is, you can't really actually come into union if that's your goal in this life unless you just have let the ego totally fall away.
That's right.
That has been my experience.
Yep.
And there's also something with the twin flame journey where I think a lot of twins are being challenged to ask themselves, should I continue with this? Should I pursue this? It's always the truth of who you are. And
Yep.
it's this very careful and delicate balance between choosing yourself and choosing your twin, knowing
Right.
that your twin is just a mirror of you.
Yeah.
But those are some of the themes that I've been seeing coming up recently. And it is a testing time right now.
Mic drop. Yeah, it's so funny you say the testing thing because that's what I keep being shown too. And I have transparently gone through a lot of the tests. I'm through a lot of it. So especially
Yeah.
the phases you've talked about with like the ego and having to like put love
Mhm.
first. And um, I think for me, there's nothing like the twin flame journey when it comes to learning real love, like
Yeah.
unconditional love. And the thing is, like, what's so powerful about the journey is that it just all bounces back to you quite literally in a reflection of you learn to what unconditionally loving yourself is, which is how source loves us. So
Yeah.
if you're a twin listening, like you are learning a couple different things. One, how to love another the way source loves them. Okay. You're
Mhm.
also learning how to love it's equal. It's not first or second, but you're also learning how to love yourself equally because your twin bounces a reflection back to you. And then you're also experiencing God in a human looking back at you because your twin is God or goddess looking at you. And it's this, and most people run from unconditional love because the planet has not been able to hold it. Obviously, there's been many twins throughout history that have been in union. There's many that are in union right now. And then there's many that are in separation. Most of them are. So
Yeah.
we have to look at like because twin flames are the leaders in love. So I don't like to not talk about it just because it's for like it's not a separate thing because twin flames are just leading the way on what's the new way of relating to each other on planet Earth in love, of course, romance, union,
Mhm.
sacred union, but also friendship, co-creator, collaborator. And so that's why the journey is so multifaceted and it's not just about a romantic relationship because you are pushed, like we've always talked about, to the utter extremes of are you gonna throw this person out the window and throw love out the window for, like you said, your ego and for what you think love is. And I, on this journey, I'm a big lover, but I have learned like what real love is. And even I was like, oh, wow, love is a whole different thing than I thought, because we're so conditioned to expect things in relationships from people. And we get to have expectations, right? But we get to have standards and ways we want to be treated and boundaries. But
Mhm.
I swear the twin flame journey throws every rule out the window. And
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm talking about this, but after a period of trying to, let it go, blah, 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 oh, it's come back. Oh, surprise, surprise. I feel like there's a lot of twins that have experienced this, so I want to speak on it openly because I don't care. Um, I've had to let go, but it's like you can never let go of your twin. I feel like there's this
No.
nuance. It's this energy of stop making it your whole identity, stop being obsessed with it, stop thinking,
Yes.
right? Remember, Gabby, I mean, you've tuned in for me on this. Stop making
Mhm.
it, we have other aspects to do in our mission.
Mhm.
It's not just about that, even though it's really your whole mission because everything comes back to you, which is them, which is you, which is them, and we go back and forth. Um,
Yeah.
and I swear, like, the more deeper I get on the journey, the more I can see how we are the damn same, him and I. Like, we are so similar. It's
Yeah.
overwhelming. And I'm just like, I think a lot of people need to really look at where they are struggling with respecting their twin or just at least giving them some credit or
Hmm.
love, even if it's been or it's felt, like I don't like to use the word toxic with twins, only because it's not karmic. Like if it's toxic, then that means something about you is toxic, right? It's a mirror. So it
Yeah.
doesn't mean there aren't toxic dynamics, but something is being triggered within you to mirror something within you that's a bit toxic, right? And you know, I feel like again, a lot of the narrative out there is union, 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 union. We're going to teach you how to get in union. The fuck you are. No
Hmm.
one can
Hmm.
teach how to get in union. And I just want to say, like, this is despicable because I feel like a lot of people are going down these rabbit holes and paying these coaches. You think
Yeah.
anybody has some blueprint to union? It's within you. It's up to your soul
Hmm.
and your counterpart and also the divine. Because let's be honest,
Yes.
Gabby, you think you and Tom,
Hmm.
like overall, like even because I know you've been open about your twin journey, you
Yeah.
think like us and our twin, like we make it happen. The divine makes it happen. We just like
Hmm.
look at your journey with all the signs and the magic, mine too. Like, who do we think makes this happen? Our human? Uh, we'd be long. So I just like I feel because you were and are so committed to this journey more than most people. More than
Mm.
I mean, I know you know a lot. I know a lot of twins, and most of them are just not that committed, and I just want you to talk about that, like your commitment, and you don't have to get into anything personal if you don't want, but just like how you have um stayed committed to this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it definitely was not always easy. It was incredibly hard, and I can't emphasize that enough. For a while, for about 2 years, I was in honestly very extreme pain. But I think what kept me committed is I've always felt that my soul came to Earth to help initiate true love. And I always felt my whole life that this weird mirage of love that is played out in our society, that didn't resonate either. And we see it in marriages, and now so many people are getting divorced, and it's a very contractual love. And I have nothing against like true divine marriage if you actually love each other and
Of course.
stay in the marriage for the right reasons. Of course, that's beautiful
Yep,
and something that I pray for everybody to find.
me too.
But it's just not like that for probably honestly 85 to 90% of the
It's that,
population.
guys, it's that high. Like I really need everybody to hear this. Twin or not, most people are lying in these relationships and they're not even in love with each other.
No.
They're
No.
breaking ancestral cycles. They're completing a karmic lesson from lifetimes that they would not learn. The stubbornness from past lives follows us. So try not to be stubborn in this one. Try to learn your lessons and call it a day. But my whole thing is you said the word, boo, mirage, the facade, the little play, the little movie these people are playing out. I won't get into the
Yeah.
people that if this affects me, the little Instagram movie everybody's playing. Don't play with
Uh-huh.
me. And you can't lie to an oracle. We can see
Right.
it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and listen, the karmic soulmates play a role in our growth. Okay? They do. They do, they do, they do. We wish them well. We send them love. They are souls and bodies. They deserve to have a beautiful life. They are not our enemy. But Gabby, some of the karmic stuff that's breaking and it's completing in this lifetime with these karmic dynamics that people have gone so far as to like
Mm-hmm.
have children or get married, it's dark,
Mm-hmm.
Gabby. It's dark. And I really want you to speak on
Yeah.
this, like, because I know you channel this a lot in sessions. Like, for people right now that are navigating either tough relationships like that where they're in a relationship and they're like, I don't think this is the one. But how did I get this
Mm-hmm.
far? Or for people that can are going through a breakup or can feel their relationship is splintering. Like just anything you can share on the karmic dynamics because this year feels like the penultimate season.
Yeah. This year is a really intense time. It's like a tipping point, or you could call it a breaking point,
Yep.
maybe.
Yep.
But if you're feeling like that, just know first, you're not alone. But secondly, it's happening for a reason, and it's happening to
Yep.
initiate you into whatever the lesson is that you came here to learn in this earthly lifetime. And I believe that if you're on the twin flame journey, you and your twin are connected in spirit, and so you'll always feel each other. Whereas if you're in more of a karmic journey, you're more connected by some type of contract.
Yeah.
And it could be as simple as boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever label, you know?
Yep.
So it really is an initiation. Everything is, even karmic relationships are an initiation because the pain of that will get louder and louder and louder until we acknowledge the lesson and act on it. Because if we only acknowledge and we just sit there in
Yeah.
that dynamic, that's equally as bad, air quotes, as, acting out of like malice or greed or hatred. And so the
Yeah.
real challenge is like, can you act on it, but act from a place of love, knowing that the truth
Yeah.
is, if you're in some type of karmic dynamic, you're not actually meant to be together because it's not true unconditional love. But you can love them as a soul and you can release them as a soul.
Absolutely.
And that is not easy, but that will
Right.
immediately initiate you onto the higher soul's path. So yeah, and in my own journey, the twin flame dynamic was extremely hard. I am now in union for anybody who's listening. So it took me about 2.5 years of really deep, intense work. And
Hmm.
what kept me on the path was just this inner knowing that, first of all, I was feeling all this pain in my body physically. And that's what happens sometimes when you have a twin flame. You
That's
feel their
right.
pain, you
That's
feel
right.
your own pain, it's being activated. And I knew that I couldn't live forever with that pain. So the only thing I could do was go deeper into it and try and
Yeah.
heal it. And there's this thing, right? We want to get away from pain. Pain is uncomfortable, but really we actually have to go into it. And yes, there is a threshold at which that is healthy, but if you go into it enough to learn the lesson and what is being called of you, that actually releases you from the pain. And that's when you insights and awakenings emerge. So for me,
Yeah.
when I met my twin, I was still working my corporate job. I hadn't been as deeply in my mission or in my gifts. And I think that going into that healing is actually what initiated me into what I'm doing now in a much deeper way. So we
That's
can
right.
think of it as like a awakening.
That's right. Beautifully said. Truly beautifully said. And it is, it is such a, sometimes well, not sometimes, I can feel the higher realms and what they say about this, and they truly are in awe of all twin flames. They're like, they know how hard it is. They're not here. They're up there, like, yeah,
Hmm.
keep going. I mean, they're guiding us, right? But to be in the experience in human form is a whole different animal. Okay. And you do feel like I hate this phrase because I know how people are going to it's not that you're incomplete. However, you do feel like a piece of you is not with you. You do. It's kind of
Hmm.
like you lose a loved one and you kind of feel like there's a hole in your heart a little bit and you can heal
Yep.
that. But let's be honest. My grandmother died when I was young and I was so close to her. To this day, I can cry about it. Like, it is what
Yeah.
it is, right? That's how it feels when you're separate from your twin. It is what it is. And if you're a twin and you are in separation, just know that every force is trying to get you together. You don't have to do it. I mean, all you have to do, to Gabby's point, is be in your mastery and embodiment of your truest, authentic, higher self. And it's like a magnet. That's the thing. Like, I've learned that letting it go is not so much about, oh, I guess I just have to let go of my very own soul who's in another body on this planet with me. And it's like, no, how can you let that go? What you have to let go of is the timeline, the how and when, how you think it's going to look in the 3D, how you think they're going to show up, these expectations you put on people, because it's only because when we do that on the twin journey, we're clearly avoiding our own stuff, right?
Yes.
And so for
Hmm.
years, of course, I didn't know what was going on. As you know, my journey, I was
Hmm.
on it long before I even knew what it was, or and certainly didn't meet
Hmm.
anybody that. So it took a long
Yeah.
time. But for years, I was on a quest of what is this thing and why doesn't this person go away? You know?
Yeah.
But once you are
Hmm.
able to understand it, there's a spiritual maturity, right, Gab, where it's like you can
Yeah.
you can understand what's it's like any other high spiritual journey, like ascension and enlightenment. I mean, there is mystery to all of it. There's great mystery to it, you know? Why are some twins in union now and why some aren't? No one can answer that.
Right.
The road to union, no one can answer that. And by the way, if anybody, because I'm, Gabby, the reason I'm harping on this is because, and this is twin, but this is also any intuitive information,
Mm.
right? People are going to
Hmm.
these people and they're making life decisions from one session. Someone When someone tunes in for you, Gabby and I do sessions. When someone tunes
Yeah.
in for you, I'm always honest and I say, this is the energy today.
Today. Yes. Hmm.
Energy moves 50,000 times a day, right? So just know that, like, try not to get too attached to every single thing someone says about your career, or if you're on a twin journey, or you're like when you're going to get married, like, because people are literally like blowing up their lives from one intuitive session, and that could have been
Hmm.
the energy. Even like these thresholds we go through, eclipse season, new year's, spring equinox, these are
Hmm.
real. Like the spring
Yep.
equinox cleared all the energy from 2024. I felt it. It was like overnight, I felt the shift. So
Hmm.
energy is moving, which is why it's important for us to stay in the now, right? Because the timelines shift all the time.
Timelines shift, timelines collapse, new timelines emerge. It's true. I was speaking to someone about this the other day. Timelines can be very nebulous sometimes,
Yeah.
but it's all about what is your truth right now today. And also that gives you
Oh,
permission to shift and change
that,
yourself.
Repeat that, Gab. What did you just say?
What is your truth right now today?
Mic drop, baby. That's it. Because it does shift because we grow and change.
Yes. We're not meant to stay stagnant. We're not meant to stay in one role and one identity. I think that for me, that's what I was grappling with for much of my life was this feeling of how can I stay in this one career with this title for the rest of my life? I don't feel like I'm growing.
Right. It is
It felt
laughable when you think of,
impossible.
yeah, no way. Not this lifetime, baby. We're here for it all, Gab, and then we're out of here.
Yeah.
uh,
And it's like, peace out.
Peace out, Earth.
Yes.
We hope we made an impact. That's what I said recently. But just
Hmm.
to just to put a cap on divine unconditional love, which is kind of a big deal right now on Earth. I love your twin. I mean, he is just a magical human, obviously. You're the same soul. You both are fucking magical.
Thank you.
But when I met him, I feel like I could his eyes looked right into my soul. I was like, "Hello, nice to see you again in this lifetime." And he is such a just a divine masculine. Like there's just no other way to say it. And that's the other thing I don't like. This whole dynamic of what a divine, forget twin flames, just divine feminine embodiment, divine masculine. There's a lot of embodiments of the divine masculine and feminine. There's not one
Yeah.
way to be divine masculine. There's not one way to be divine feminine. And one of the things I love about your twin is how playful he is. He's like a big kid, and
He
that's
is.
what we are. We're all the children we once were. And I remember we've talked about the closer you get to enlightenment, you become like a child. It's like
Yeah.
closer you are to source. Children are the closest to God. Listen to your kids. They have more wisdom than you. They don't have the programming
Yes.
yet. So,
Right.
that's what I love about him. But I would love to hear if we can just put a pin in this conversation. What have you learned about true unconditional love since you are having to live it every day in union?
Yeah, I think true unconditional love is being present and true unconditional acceptance as well. It's not so
Yeah.
much this paradigm of, oh, they said this and that upset me, so I need to turn away from them. It's more, they said this, and now I need to understand where is that coming from. And again, going into it, not turning away. And I think in our society, it's like, we're used to this strange instant gratification, and it's somehow gone into relationships where people think if they are not pleasing me, I'm going to turn away and I'm just going to
Oh,
let them go. And that is not the truth of love. And I think when you do find true unconditional love, again, it's a feeling. It's a
yes.
feeling of, it's a wholesomeness, and it's a feeling that somebody loves you for your soul. They don't love you because you are in this role or this identity or this archetype. They actually see past all of that and
Yeah.
they feel
Okay.
your true essence, and that is the soul's essence. And so, yeah, when I'm with Tom, it's the truest of who I am as well. My inner child comes out. I'm playful, I'm artistic, I'm joyful, I'm present, and he brings all of that out in me. And that's always there, but it really helps to let all of those old paradigms of being in that masculine, constant hustle energy decay. And they just fall away like magic. And I think that's what true unconditional love can do.
Mic drop. That's the third one. I actually teared up because that is the frequency of unconditional love. And I know it's possible for everyone. They don't have to be your twin, by the way. There are a lot of people here to have divine soulmate connections, but they're almost like a twin. I mean, they're not typical, easy. So, I mean, right? So there's a lot of different counterparts that that people are contracted to be with in this life for the highest love. And the thing is, once you taste unconditional love, you'll never forget it. You won't.
True.
And so that's the quest I'm on as well. And but I am challenging myself to pour that into me and also all the relationships along the way to that journey, wherever I end up.
Hmm.
Right. If it's with my twin, great. If it's not, fine. And there's power in surrendering to your life path, my friends. Please do not get attached to how your career should look, who you think you're here to be with, um, how you think it's all going to play out. You might know the who, you might know the what, you might know these things, right? I certainly have had these feelings for many years about the who and the what and what I'm here to do, and but you do not know the how or the when. And I've been saying this lately with like you can know the why too. Tune into your intention. Why do you even want that? Why do a lot of people get caught up in time. And that's where I want to go next, Gab, is timelines and timelines in general, but also just time. And because we know like the tricky thing with time, I mean, if you're working with the higher realms, they don't have time. It's a continuum.
Yeah.
So you got to be
Right.
careful, right? That's even back to the sessions people do where it's like you're channeling beings that aren't in time. So they're not,
Right.
they could be telling you something, but really that thing could happen in a day. But they don't, it's just like interesting.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of people, and we're talking to very advanced people on the spiritual journey, so we don't need to be 101 with this. A lot of people, they get in this journey, they start to understand like how to manifest, right? They start to understand law of attraction, etc. And then the human ego gets involved and is like, "Wait a minute. I'm doing all the right things. Why isn't this here yet?" Or, "Wait a minute. I'm 36. I should be married with kids right now." It's like they forget that if you're
Hmm.
on this path, if you're on the spiritual journey in this lifetime, your life has to be a testimony to the complete opposite of the old paradigm. We're pushing up against it. So don't be surprised, y'all, if your life is not exactly turning out the way you thought. Okay. And let's correct ourselves, the way we were programmed.
Yes. Hmm.
So talk to
That's
me
what
about
it is.
timelines and how you work with people and how you advise your clients to calm it down with the time.
Yeah. Well, in a session, when spirit speaks through me as the channel, they're speaking to that person's soul. And the power of that is the soul can be activated at any time. There is
Uh-huh.
beauty in that.
Yeah.
So at any time, that person might be sitting there and receiving a specific message about their purpose that really resonates with them and that allows them to take action. And
Yeah.
this can collapse time. This has an effect of collapsing time. Now, when people come into a session and they have the mindset of, when is he going to text me? When is he going to come back to me? When is he going to do this? When is he going to show up at my doorstep? That's when we really are not working with the truth anymore because there's an expectation placed on that. And there is what is he doing to serve me? And again, that's what we're trying to get out of. And so, one thing I work with people on is let's shift the question to what can I do to be in the right state or the energy that could actually magnetize that in? Now, that's a very
Yeah.
different question. We're not waiting around for when. We are actually taking our own inner power and agency and becoming a higher frequency being, which then makes the probability that what you want to happen, it will happen a lot more quickly, basically. So trying to help people understand there's a big shift that needs to take place. If we're asking when and how, usually there's a deeper level of understanding that we're being called to
Yeah.
go into. And this is something I've had to learn many times in my life, but I look back on my
You.
life and I see that nothing that I planned worked out exactly as expected.
Nope.
And the things that were actually most beautiful in my life were things that were unplanned. They were the people I met when I randomly went to an event that I was feeling too tired to go to, but I felt like
That's
I
right.
was meant to. They were the opportunities that I took when someone said, "Hey, what about this?" And I
Yeah.
said, "Oh, why not?" Those are the things that turn out to be most magical. And so I think it's just learning that we need to leave space for that synchronicity and divine orchestration to work its magic. And when we try and control, it usually doesn't work all that well.
Hmm. Fourth mic drop. Yes, that was fantastic. That was so well explained and so simple. And I really hope that hits people's hearts because we torture ourselves a lot because of how the ego gets hung up on time. When really, let's be honest, guys, we have a lot more time than we think. Okay. Like, I pretty much know when I'm going to transition. Yeah, I do. I don't know why they told me that, but they did. I got
Yeah,
a
me
lot
too.
more years left. And once, in a way, I think they told me because my whole life I was like, so when do I leave this planet that's full of darkness?
Yeah,
And the divine was
right,
like, not yet.
right.
It's a
Hmm.
wild experience to live unafraid of death because I know it's not really death, but it's fine. I do
Totally.
like this form finally. I do enjoy this form I'm in. My
Oh.
soul's like, you like it? Come on, I chose it. You're gonna like that body or what? You're gonna like that
Hmm.
voice or what? But for me with the time thing, it's always been like this, do I have enough time? Is it going to even happen? And that's to your point, that's why we don't take the action because a lot of people, well, there's wounds and inner child stuff, but a lot of it's also just like,
Hmm.
is it even going to work? My nervous system can't take the risk. And I think
Hmm.
with time in general, like I pretty much know how much longer I have. And I'm just like, oh, I got a lot more time than I thought. Like, I can pace this,
Hmm.
Gab, I'm saying this here and now. My 40s are going to be off the fucking hook.
Yeah.
That's my prime. I'm telling you.
Yep.
I'm glad my
Hmm.
prime was not in my 20s. I also love all the orbs flying around in here. That's cool. So anyway, you see them. So
Hmm.
anyway,
Yep.
they're so happy we're here, Gab. But
Mm.
I'm so happy you teach that, and I gotta bring this topic up with you, which is the spiritual community right now. Okay, because I think that our little old friend, the ego, has crept in to people that are wearing the little priestess robes and they're, doing these sexual photo shoots. Oh, we can all do that. They're teaching, sexual embodiment and abundance and money, 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 honey, money, money, money. I can teach you how to make $10,000 in 10 minutes. The fuck you can. No, you can't. And I'm telling you, I don't know why the creator is asking me to speak on this, but it's been coming through a lot. And people come to
Hmm.
me with these terrible situations they go through. Somebody, you'll love this, Gab. Someone came to me and said they worked with a channel, and the channel said, your higher self told me if you don't sign on with me in my program, your business will not blow up. So this is real. And there's people that are being vulnerably taken advantage of. And I think the divine would like leaders like you and I to speak on this because think about it. If somebody's first spiritually awakening and they're just Googling or they go to an event and someone's an intuitive channel, you want answers. I get it. Or
Yeah.
you meet your twin, or you go through a terrible grief, some kind of traumatic experience that activates your next level in your spiritual journey. You do want answers, and you don't have you can't even see you're in such pain. I get it. I really do. I have sought answers from so many people throughout my journey. Some of them helped. You're one of them, and a lot of them didn't help, right? And I
Yeah.
should have stuck to my own intuition. But without like
Hmm.
people like you, people like B, Christina, like I wouldn't, you guys have pushed me, right? Because that's
Mm.
the other thing. We want to work with healers and channels and the divinely aligned ones and even soul family. Now I trust more than I
Hmm.
would trust anybody who's a stranger because you guys can see our blind spots. Like when Gabby's
Hmm.
working with me, Gabby's not in my body, right? And yes, Gabby loves me, but Gabby's tuning into the truth of my soul and the timelines and what I'm holding back on and is honest. So
Hmm.
I want you to speak on this because you do this work way more than I do, right? I mean, you're full blown doing sessions, you're tuning in, you do energy work, you're an energy healer. Please, Gabby, tell us what we must do and what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, I think that what's happening right now is spirituality has become like this phenomena where people are jumping on the bandwagon.
Yep.
And there's good parts to this and bad parts to this. The bad part is there is manipulation. There are
Ugh.
people who are just using the label and are not in integrity. And that is disgusting. It's very problematic and it troubles me frequently. Because the truth is that there's no band-aid for anything. Not really. Not with the journey of the soul. With the journey of the soul, the best channeler or intuitive you can go to, all they're doing is they're activating you and they're returning you back to your truth. And that is the most powerful thing that they can do. So if anyone is promising you some like overnight thing or you have to work with them, that is manipulation. That is not truth. And I always tell people there's a couple ways that you can discern who you're really speaking
Yes.
to. If they are provoking an energy of fear or they're making you feel powerless at all, that is not the right person for you. They gotta
Next.
go
Next.
immediately. And I say this because I had experiences like that, especially when I was vulnerable in my twin flame journey. I had people tell me, if you don't work with me, your business is going to fail. Was that true? No. If you don't do XYZ, you will never be in union with your twin. Was that true?
Oh,
No.
really?
And it was this constant me having to go back to my own intuition. And so that is what I teach. I teach people, look, I can be a mirror and I'm channeling your guides, but all that's doing is activating your own intuition. And it has to ring as truth. And keep in mind with the timing, only the information that is actually helpful to you right now is
Comes through.
available right now.
Ding, ding, ding. That, Gab, that is a, oh, I'm so happy you brought this up because I've learned this the hard way too. Talk to us more about that.
Yeah, usually spirit is not going to send you on a wild goose chase of telling you every single thing that's going to happen in your life because A, that would take the fun out of it. We come
Yep,
here to learn. That
that's
is our
right.
main purpose in
That's
coming
right.
to Earth. And B, that honestly wouldn't be helpful. It would
No,
be information overload. And so usually what spirit does is they'll send you a message that will help you move forward and take the next step. And that's all it is, the next step. And that's also an initiation because as you're taking
yeah,
that step, you're learning more about who you are and what your
yes,
truth is. And that's all that's needed. And so it's really getting out of this energy of like, we have to achieve XYZ overnight. It's more the beauty is in the step and just moving forward one step. And that is as powerful as anything that you see online. So, yes, there's definitely a lack of integrity that I do see circulating in the industry, and it is scary. But I think that if people know at the end of the day, you're the one that has all the answers, not anybody else. You
real.
are. If people know that and they can treat these sessions as a mirror, not
Yeah,
as
yeah,
written in stone,
right,
this is exactly what's going to happen,
right.
when, where, why, how. That's really going to help.
Mic drop, baby. I'm so happy you spoke on that because I forgot about that part. That is really it. I mean, you know, when you think about it, when you're guided to a session, and of course, we're going to assume it's somebody of the light and someone's spirit's really guiding you to that has the best intentions and is working with the light. Let's just assume that, right? Because the dark stuff, we can go in circles around and we can talk about that later. But let's assume that is often because your human is going through a period where your intuition feels like it's turned off. Of course, it never really is, but there's periods. I'm sure I know you've gone through it. I've gone through it where it
Hmm.
felt like everything, I don't know what to do. So in a way, I always think the divine teaches us how to lean on other people in those moments because it isn't all on us. And the new earth is so much about co-creation and supporting each other and really collaborating and really relying on other people. I've been tuning in a lot to this concept of like reliability, right? And the spiritual journey, and I think Awakening 101 for a lot of people the last decade or so has been like, okay, I'm accountable to myself. I'm gonna look at my wounds, I'm gonna heal, I'm gonna do shadow work. But I'm telling
Hmm.
you, phase 2, 3, 4, 5 is like divine unconditional love, romantic sacred union with the right person, friendships that are just as potent as sacred union with a romantic partner,
Yes.
co-creations in your business, big community events and offerings, collaborations with different people that are thought leaders that have big audiences together, right? Versus hoarding your audience and your money and you and me.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and so I feel like that's the phase a lot of us are in now that have been on this journey. I've been on this journey for about 10 years now. 8 or 9, and it feels longer, but that's the next level for me is like, can I rely on people? Can I trust people? And yes,
Hmm.
has there been betrayal? Yes. Have people let me down? Yup. And the thing is, I forgive them and I love them all and it's fine. I get it. There was a trigger, there was a mirroring, whatever had to happen, the contract happened and cool, it's fine. I don't harbor any resentment. I'm too tired, right? And I feel like a lot of
Yes.
us are. But the next level is okay, if it is new people that I'm attracting into my life, or if I'm circling back with people that I haven't talked to in a while, or whatever it is, or if I'm deepening relationships with people I already have, which is a lot of, I think, also what's happening,
Hmm.
we got to really look at our blocks with trusting other people and relying on other people and not trying to do everything ourselves, because I do think a lot of us are here to have these big businesses and big public movements, so to speak, right, and actually
Hmm.
authentically guide people, because the spiritual
Hmm.
consciousness on the planet right now is rising so fast, and
Hmm.
people need guidance and they need community. They don't know. People think about when you awaken for the first time. A lot of people are in corporate and they're like, I
What?
just heard a voice talk to me and tell me to quit, or they're sleeping next to their partner. Something just told me to get out of this bed and walk out of here right now and leave this person. So
Yep.
people need, and then they're like, they feel that stirring. This is what I call it. When you start to awaken, the soul is stirring in the heart chakra. It's
Yeah.
going, hey, guess who's been powering you the
Hmm.
whole time since day one of your birth? Me, yo.
Hmm. Yes.
Not this guy up here, this guy in here. Okay. And I know the soul's in the whole body and the aura, but I have been shown that the soul's in the heart, which we can't live without the heart.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's how I feel. And people feel that stirring and they're like, you don't know what the hell's going on. And paradigms fall, I mean, for people, right?
Hmm.
So now what we're seeing, Gab, is the whole collective's paradigms are falling. The ways of
Yes.
being, the oh, you go to high school, then you go to college, then you, I guess, get married, then I guess you have kids. No, excuse me. You buy a house, you get married. I forget the fucking order, okay? But those days are gone.
They really are.
They're
Hmm.
gone. Poof. Because hey, who says that has to happen in that order? And I just want to ask you what you think about what is happening on the planet. Let's end here. What is going on in America? What is going on in the energy of the planet right now? Talk to me about what you're feeling for 2025 so far.
Yeah, something that's been coming through recently is Dolores Cannon's
Ah,
explanation of the old Earth and the new Earth and
yep.
how the two exist in parallel, but they overlap.
Yeah.
And so there is this old paradigm, and we see it in our government, and we see it in our school system, and our food, especially in America.
Yep.
And that's still very much alive, but more chaos is around it right now.
Yep.
Then there's a new paradigm, which is community and being in pure love and pure intention and having good values and integrity and working together, not so separate. And that also exists. And then some of us are living in the in between where it's this shifting depending on who
Yes.
we're with or what environment we're with or in. We can shift into the old paradigm or the new paradigm. And so I truly believe in that because I think that these two earths are happening in conjunction.
Yeah.
And as the spiritual consciousness on the planet rises, which is happening very rapidly, more of the new earth is taking hold and there is more light on earth. But in order for that to happen, and I know this only because of channeling, if I relied 100% on my human brain, I would not have much faith. But
Yeah.
channeling daily, all the time, pretty much, has really allowed me to have a strong foothold in spirit. And spirit just keeps saying, things are actually working out exactly as they are meant to. And all
Yep.
of this chaos that you're seeing is so these old ways of being break down.
That's right.
And that is so necessary. So that's it. That's what's happening.
Mic drop. Fasten your seatbelt, y'all, because 2025 is going to shift a lot of things in our individual lives. A lot of relationships are going to be breaking, falling apart. A lot of companies
Hmm.
are going to be falling apart. A lot of just like industries are shifting rapidly. I'm seeing so disruption. I'm working in the business world right now. So much disruption like overnight. And this is how I know the divine's moving. And plus Mother Earth. Let's not forget about her because Mother Earth is really the owner of this planet, okay? Working with the divine and humans. I just want to remind you, you are a visitor here. Okay. So treat her well. Like if you go stay at someone's house, do you make the bed before you leave or do you just leave everything in disarray? Well, the earth's going to be asking humanity to step it up in terms of how we treat each other and how we treat her. And what's powerful about what you said, Gab, is that like there's hope. I want people to have hope because
Yes.
the mental health issues right now, the suicide rates, I'm devastated with what's going on because, you know, some of that's, we can't always understand why these things happen, but there are a lot of people very depressed because of what's going on in the world and in
Hmm.
America. And I just hope whoever this episode reaches, it gives them hope because there is hope. And I'm with you, Gab. Like, I know this is part of the plan. And I'm trusting that even if things are falling apart, it means they're falling together. So thank you for giving us that hope. And thank you for today. I just love you to my absolute core. I am so grateful for you. I would not be here without you. You are one of my best friends and my soul family. And I just thank you for supporting me in this lifetime. And I trust you so deeply. And anyone who gets to work with you is just so lucky. And I just want everybody to know that, like, I fully endorse Gabby. And so please go work with her, especially if you've had some not great experiences with other intuitives. Like, Gabby will whip it all back into shape, so to speak. And so please work with Gabby and her programs. But Gab, please let people know where they can find you and please let people know how they can work with you right now.
Yes, thank you. And all of that back to you. I love you with my whole heart and soul too. So the best way to find me is my website. It is my last name, and it will be linked in the show notes. And I offer spirit readings. So that's a chance to connect with your spirit guides. I also offer Akashic Records readings, so you can figure out who you were in a past life and
Woo!
also what your soul is calling you to do now. And then I have a 6-month coaching program, which is all dedicated to you learning how to connect to source yourself, getting messages,
Love
and
that.
really identifying what is your purpose here on earth. And when I say that, it's less about the title
Yeah.
based on this conversation, it's more about the calling, like what are you being called to do? And that is called Dreamweaver, and you can find all of that on my website. I will
Yay.
also share my Instagram. It's at Spirituality Gabriella, and my YouTube is Spirituality with Gabriella, and I post readings there and tips on manifestation.
I love your YouTube so much. I get the weekly readings all the time. So much resonates. And I also just love the way you do your videos. And they're so like, for everybody listening, they're so concise and easy to digest. And I love it. And you are just such a delight and a joy to learn from and watch. You really are. She's so high frequency, y'all. So anyway, I
Oh,
love you. Thank you for being here, my love. And I'm wishing you more blessings in 2025. Thank you for the work you're doing on this planet.
thank you. And you too. Love you.
Love you.
Thank you so much for listening to Mic Drop Sundrip. Join the community at houseoflow.co/mic drop sundrip. And remember, without truth, there can be no light. And without light, there can be no power.